Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans. Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How is everybody doing out there on this Monday, December 8th, 2025, episode number 169? Hi, how are you?
I'm good, man. I just want to start by giving a big shout out to the state of New Jersey this weekend at
Oh, yeah.
NXN and at some college races. I mean, Blair Bartlett with her invite to the World XC titles. She
Yep.
didn't win, but she
Yep.
was the first American-born girl, and CBA getting third as a team, and Haddonfield as a Group 2 school getting ninth. And then we had Marco Langdon over at Nova starting off his season with a 13:05. Wasn't too happy about his place, but hell of a
Wasn't it
race.
like the third and fourth fastest times in NCAA history
Yeah, I mean, it was
between
just
him and Gary Martin?
well, Gary Martin was third. He ended up losing to the guy who won the XCs from
Yeah,
New
Hampton
Mexico. Yeah,
Samuel.
Hampton. So I
Yeah,
mean, it was
Hampton's a
that. I mean,
monster.
those guys are coming off of XC. Marco's coming off of just pure training. So I think it bodes well for what he's going to do this season. And he's always out there making this state proud. And I'm just excited to see where he goes. And I mean, just an absolute wonderful weekend for everybody here in this great state of New Jersey.
I think the excitement's going to be that we're going to get to see Marco compete a little more than those other guys that are just coming off XC because they did their quick boom race while they're still feeling good. They're at peak, and now they'll probably go take a good month off, and we'll get Marco picking and choosing his spots for racing more. So I'll be nice
Yeah,
to see Marco go out and hopefully toy with his food a little and run fast because I want to see him do some dominant stuff. So
yeah, he's definitely not afraid. I mean, if you saw his post race interview, it was definitely Marco. It was New Jersey. It was everything that you thought that it would be, and it was great.
absolutely. So we're excited for that. We're pumped for Marco. I will say that he will be a future guest. We're going to force Marco to come on. We're going to just stalk him until he, comes on and
Agrees.
eventually, and he'll scold us and make fun of us, but that'll be okay. He'll
Yeah,
be on the show.
that's
We
great.
want that. So I want to bring in our guest before we do our PRs because we're excited to have this gentleman on. We had him on, God, it's probably well over a year now
Probably, yeah.
since we had him on, and he's coming on. He's going to give us some updates. We're going to have a good conversation. Let's bring him in. He's the man, the myth, Zig Ziegler. What's going on, brother?
Hey, gentlemen, I am doing fabulous. How about you guys over there? Excited to be here for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
we're pumped to have you on. It's always a good time to talk to you and bring you in. So before we jump into our topics, Zig, I don't know if we were doing this while we had you on, but what we like to do is we like to get personal bests from anyone that's out there to share them with us.
Ooh,
And so far, we have had one faithful coach that has sent it to us whenever he's had it. He's a Michigander, Coach Tom Figueroa. So we always like he gives us a big list, and we have the first list of indoor. So we always like to have our guest in, let you guys hang out while we have this list because he gives us some long ones, and
that's
to have you just hang out there for like 10 minutes while we call out, PRs, I think would be mean to just have you on the backstage for that long. So we're gonna jump right to that.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, and then Dave and Zig, you're gonna laugh at this because this is where Dave likes to laugh at me because I struggle mightily with some of these names. So let's
That's
see
also
how I
why
do.
you do it and I
Oh, I
don't.
know, I know. You're so nice. You're so sweet, Dave. So Coach Figueroa coming in saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. Indoor season kicks off with the first meet over at Grand Valley State. I know that place. I love when I know places in Michigan. And with that, they have some first set of PRs. Be back at Grand Valley next week for the second meet. So let's get going here. So, Dave, we got a lot this week,
I
and
see.
I'm excited for it. And I was trying to decipher. Now I'm seeing MF. I guess that means freshman because all the F's is with the nines there. So I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense here. So, freshman male ninth grader in the 60 ran a 7.59. And then we had a 10th grade boy. Joe, I should say his name, Josh Sharich with a 7.59. Then we had a 10th grader, Wyatt Mann, with the 7.7. And then rounding out the 60s, Aiden Palancios. I'm going to mess that up all the time. Help me. 12th grader with an 8.40. So good job to the gentleman over there. Let's jump to the 200. We have a slew of two gentlemen over here. Freshman again, Josh Sharich ran, and he's a ninth grader, ran a 23.67. And then 10th grader, Wyatt Mann, ran a 24.76. So good job there. And we skipped the 400, it seems. And we jump right to the 8, which, Dave, look at all these 800s. and we finally get the ladies involved. So I'm excited for that.
That's awesome.
So we're jumping in 10th grader Seth Randall in the 800 running a 157.98. And then we have a freshman male, Mason Rogers, 9th grader, running a 213.56. Another freshman coming in, Devin Savaboda, running a
Svoboda, like the sprinter, Svoboda.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
you go. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
I also can't read, so there's that. Braden Shue coming in, 10th grader with the 222.45. Nolan Wines, 11th grader, running a 222.75. We got our first lady jumping in here. Abby Luckman, 11th grader, running a 225.80. And then we have a 9th grader, Caleb Sayagoda, running a 228.16. I think I did well with that one.
You know what? I would have pronounced it Shigoda. The P might be silent.
Zig, we need you to come and just do all the PRs from now, okay? So Caleb Shigoda, that's so much better. 228.16. Then we have another young lady, freshman, Lydia Dwyer. That's a good one. Let's keep them there. Lydia Dwyer running a 231.42. And then we got a middle schooler jumping in.
Yeah.
Allison Cassiano, 7th grader, running a 233.76.
I take this on my team any day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Then a freshman, Tala Carlin, 9th grader, running a 235.0, another blazing time. Taylor Schulte, an 8th grader, running a 236.21. Then the last two 800s here, 11th grader, Madison Lipinski, running a 243.46. And then we have another gentleman, middle schooler, Milo Bernick, a 6th grader, running a 327.83. So awesome job for all of our 800-meter runners. And now, look at this, Dave, like we love, the mile. Whole bunch of milers. Let's go. Seth Randall coming back with a nice double here, 437.50, 10th grader. Ethan Ferguson, 10th grader, running a 438.01. Mason Rogers, a freshman, running a 442.01. Matthew Laporte, a 10th grader, running a 458.10. Braden Shue dipping under the 5-minute mark, 10th grader. It's probably his first time. Congrats getting under 5 there, 459.67. Then we have an 11th grader, Nolan Wines, running a 510.64. Then we have a middle schooler, Easton Netzley, an 8th grader, running a 529.70. Then we have a young lady coming in, a middle schooler, Allison Cassiano, again, 7th grader, 536.79. Let's go. Then we have a freshman male running a 549.81. Another freshman male. Well, that was Javier JJ Garcia. Sorry. And then we have Caleb. How would you say this again?
Shigoda.
There we go. 9th grader running a 556.79. Female Madison Lipinski, 11th grader, 609.02. And then we have 3 middle school boys, one of them 3rd grader. That's awesome. Colton Cade, a 6th grader, running a 612.11. A 3rd grader, Blaine Klein, running a 618.75. And then Milo Bernick, 6th grader, rounding us out with a 713.19. So
good job, everyone.
Awesome job, everyone. Love the PRs. And Zig, I think I'm just going to record your voice for some of them and just like voice over you for some of those last names. That was perfect.
That was great.
Oh yeah. You know, I back in my days of radio, broadcast radio, on my show on NBC or ESPN radio, I had the benefit of the sound booth guys pronouncing the name and giving that to me in my ear. So every time a guest was on, they're like, "How do you get my name so perfectly?" I think about how people mispronounce my name. So yeah, but wow, shout out to those guys. So quick question, regardless of whether it's indoors or outdoors, were those actual indoor times or were those?
I believe it's all indoor.
No kidding.
Indoor. I mean, it's Michigan, so I would imagine it's indoors.
Yeah, I don't think they're outside.
Yeah, you know what? I hope not.
I mean, if they ran those times outside in December, that's even more impressive. They're running over snow and ice.
It is freezing here in NJ now. That's for
sure. Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? It's cold over in Arizona. I had a coat on this morning walking the dog. I think, but in Vegas last week, because I was over there last week, we got to 35 degrees overnight.
Wow.
I mean, that's cold.
I mean, isn't that pretty typical though, where the nights get cold over there in Vegas and Zona, but the days are hot? Like that's kind of like the desert climate. No, it gets pretty cold in the desert climate in the winter.
Yeah, you get the desert highlands, and we're at a little bit of elevation. You know, Vegas is 1,800 to 2,300 feet or something like that, depending upon what part of there's a mountain right outside of town, 45 minutes away. You can go skiing on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's open now. I thought I heard some folks talk about going skiing soon. So, it's not like Arizona where you got to go all the way up to Flagstaff, 2 hours away.
Right.
But still, it's, there's a lot of similarities.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Zig, I want to jump into the nitty gritty with you because you are a businessman, but you are also a kinesiologist. And we love to talk about
Feet.
feet, the science of the sport, legs, all of that type of stuff. So talk to me a little bit. I think one of the things we talk about stride, we talk about training, we talk about all this type of stuff. And when it comes to feet, all we talk about is shoes. But as someone who studies the science of like the body and runners, jumpers, even throwers, we need our footsie tootsie. So explain to me what the importance from the insight of the science side is feet for a track and field athlete.
You know what, Alex? Hey, you and every other coach out there, and Dave, you too, does exactly what you just said. When it comes to the feet, we think the shoes are the secret to our success.
Yep.
And what I found over the last 30 years as a kinesiologist, look, they used to call me the foot guy when I started doing foot seminars about 23, 24 years ago, because nobody was talking about the feet. But I tell you this, I've said this since my very first seminar, the feet are the most important, yet most neglected part of the body when it comes to our training programs. I mean, let me ask you, what do you do to exercise your feet?
I mean, I think at most you'll see some runners kind of roll them out. That's about it. They'll roll them out with the roller to kind of massage them. And I know from us in Jersey, our feet exercise is in the summer. We go run on sand. That's honestly, I think the most that, we do. We'll do some barefoot running in the sand, which I know does work some of the extra muscles that you typically don't get to use in the shoes.
But we don't think of it as as doing something for our feet. We just do it because it's a different way to work out for our body. It's like I don't think I do anything that is foot specific in any way.
Yeah, no, look, you did it again. You did exactly what everybody else does. When I ask most people what they do, by the way, you shifted it over to other people. I specifically said, what do you do to exercise your feet? And you said, well, most coaches and most athletes. So, but here's the thing, everything that I usually get from folks in terms of responses are exercises or things that people do on their feet or to their feet.
Yes.
But not exercise. When I say, what do you do to exercise, and let me elaborate a little bit more, the muscles of your feet, most people do absolutely nothing. And when I say most, I mean 99.9%. We go run barefoot, we go and run on different surfaces like we think the sand's going to do it for us. And there's a lot of, and I'm going to call it what it is, myths out there and theories that running barefoot allows you to train the muscles of your feet. Well, in actuality, it does, but the problem with it is it trains the muscles of feet in the same way that they've been training in shoes. The only thing is you're just barefoot now. You get a little more stimulation and feeling of the nerves because you've got this tactile feel or experience. Yeah. But in reality, you're still finding a way to compensate around the weaknesses of your feet. You're just doing it barefoot now. And I say that you compensate for the weaknesses of your feet, because when you think about this, our feet are meant to do exactly what our hands do. They're supposed to go like this. Our toes have a job to do.
Now I'm wiggling my feet thinking about it.
Yeah, I can see you. I can see you. But that's what our feet are supposed to do. Then when we go, here happens if we don't train the muscles of our feet, we stick on a pair of shoes, and those shoes, and usually we go to the running store, and the running store says, hey, let's evaluate your feet and see what the best shoe is for you. Then they say, oh, you're a pronator, or you're a supinator, or you're a heel striker, or you're a toe striker. And so we're going to put you in a shoe to accommodate for whatever they determine to be the way your foot strikes the ground. Well, here's the key. At the end of the day, we're all pronators and supinators, okay? Your foot ideally in a perfect world land in neutral, evenly, with weight evenly distributed throughout the entire foot from big toe to little toe.
Yep.
We then go in the store, they say, oh, you need an arch support, so let's put you in some orthotics. You're a heel striker, so let's put you in a shoe with more cushion. You run a lot of mileage, so let's put you in a shoe that's going to allow your feet to be protected from all the mileage that you do. And here's what happens. All that accommodation that the shoes do weakens our feet.
It makes sense because if you
Yeah.
have an injury and then you use a brace and then that injury heals, but you continue to use the brace, all you do is weaken up the muscle around that. That's why they tell you take the brace off when you can, let your muscles start to work again, let them get used to it. Could imagine it's a similar thing with the feet.
It absolutely is. But the biggest challenge is we're wearing shoes all the time.
Yes.
And then we take the shoes off. And like you said, you go run barefoot, you run on the beach or whatever. You're still not using your feet the same way that you would be using them. So now, typically, what happens if you injure yourself, you go through rehab and they go, let's do some towel exercises, or let's pick up some marbles, let's do some things like that. I say, look, let's do those things all the time, but also let's do weight bearing exercises
Hmm.
that are loading the support leg, but swinging free leg or swinging the arms or doing something that allows the forces to move in all four 360 degrees, I guess I should say, around the foot. And in doing so, you'll find that the foot muscles have a way and an opportunity to engage, because the heel was never meant to absorb stress or impact when running. But if you think about the old school way, in particular with distance running,
Sure.
the emphasis was on, oh, you got to be a heel striker because all the best runners did it. And here's what I say to that. Just because the best runners did it didn't mean that was the best way. Because if you look at a lot of, especially nowadays, middle distance runners who move up, they still run on their forefoot or their
Oh yeah,
midfoot
there it's
starters.
it's so much more uber aggressive. I think Grant Fisher is a lot of ways that way because Grant
Yes.
runs with his chest deep. Like he's not sitting up like a lot of your old traditional runners. He's very much
Yeah.
in that 45-ish angle and keeping that pressure more on the balls of his feet, which I remember as we were growing up, it's like, no, you don't want to be as heavy on the balls of your feet as a distance runner. And it's
Right.
like there was a little
Sprinters,
more
right.
of that sit back theory.
There was a lot of that sit back theory, and a lot of athletes and coaches would just say, oh, you're never gonna make it. You're gonna get too tired running up there. Well, if you build the strength and the endurance in your forefoot and your gastrocs, your calves, your hamstrings, your glutes, you'll be able to last longer. And that's what we're seeing start to happen today. Is
Absolutely.
more and more athletes are saying, I can't be a heel striker. Now, then you got, I call them cheater shoes or super shoes,
Yeah.
that are really helping
Carbon. Yeah.
spring athletes forward, because that's what the forefoot does. If you land on your foot, there's a springing action that
Yep.
happens that
Yep.
propels you forward. If you land on your heel, before you can move forward, your heel hits the ground, your foot has to drop, your weight has to shift to the front, and then you typically just ride off the top of it. You never spring forward.
Wow.
Now, as someone who works with the science of the body, we've been talking a lot about bicarbs. They were brought up. Sinclair Johnson, I think, was the first one that brought it up to us on the show a few months ago. And bicarbs have been sweeping, especially the pro running world.
High
Um,
school too.
high school too,
Yeah.
the top athletes. What's your opinion on the bicarb? Because for me, I look at it and people are like, it's harmless. It's like, yeah, sure, but anything that's harmless in small doses, when you're doing it much more frequent and a bigger dose than the body's used to, I don't think we found the negative impacts yet, but I can't see it having a positive impact for a long term. So if you were dealing with an athlete and they came to you and said, hey, Zig, I want to use bicarbs, what would your opinion be to them?
Well, the first question I ask is why. We got to understand their why and
Yep.
what they feel like they're going to gain from any kind of what I call supplement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anything that is meant to enhance, or that they believe is going to enhance their performance. So I ask them why, and then I start to ask myself why. So my opinion, and this is on, and this isn't just bicarbs. This is any exercise or drill or treatment or program. Anytime an athlete asks me, should I do this? The question I ask is, why do you need it? And then the second question I ask is of myself, what am I missing in their coaching that's making them feel like they're missing it? And then I get to what the question that you are leading with, and that is, what's the long-term
Yeah.
potential negative impact, not just the positive impact
Sure.
that you're feeling? And then this is the other thing that people have to consider as well. Just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yep.
You might struggle with the right amounts, just like sets and reps. You
Sure.
know, my reps are going to be different than your reps. My stretching is going to be different than your stretching.
Yep.
My shoes are going to be different than your shoes. Everything is going to be different. So we've got to ask more questions. And the jury is out. We don't have enough information to be able to determine what damage is really being done. What's the long-term effect?
Yeah, it's just for me, I can't see there not being some sort of damages for some athletes because
So,
again, you're introducing
Right.
something that wasn't there beforehand and now in high doses because a lot of people are
yeah,
using it a good amount
yeah.
because it does give an edge. Like there's no doubt that it
Sure.
gives an edge. Dave, what were you going to say?
No, I was actually going to get back to the feet. So
Yeah, go for it.
if you have proper health care, foot care, can that have a significant advantage to not getting further injuries on other parts of your body?
100%, absolutely. Look, the feet are the foundation. You know, as the feet go, so do the rest of the body. So if I'm a supinator or a pronator or a heel striker, my body has to compensate for that. If I have a weak big toe, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about the medial arch, but the medial arch is the least important of the arches. It's impacted by the transverse arch, which is the arch that runs big toe through the little toe. It's a series of arches. If those arches are doing their jobs, then you've got a quote unquote strong, stable medial arch. There's the lateral arch. So the foot has to do its job. And if that force is transferring properly from your foot through the posterior chain, and you're now striking the ground properly, you'll end up with less shin splints, less stress fractures, less patellar tendon syndrome, less IT band syndrome. IT band syndrome, first and foremost, I can tell you this.
I was just about to ask you
Not,
about the IT band. I hate the
not
IT
oh,
band.
and you know what? The worst thing you can do is roll it. That's
Really?
the worst thing you can do is roll the IT band because the IT band is a fascia, okay? And it
Mhm.
starts in the
Mhm.
hip and runs all the way down into the ankle itself. It's
Wow.
not just above and at the knee, but it crosses that joint. And so what ends up happening is if you roll out that fascia has a job to do, and that's protect the muscle. If
Interesting.
your IT band is tight, it's typically because you've got an imbalance somewhere, and the IT band is absorbing more stress and gone into protection mode. And typically, what's more common than not is you've got tight quads, you've got an imbalance in your quadricep, and you've typically got weak hamstrings. Then there's some pronation, supination things that happen. If you think about this, okay, and I'm just going to give you a visual here for those that are watching on the YouTube channel. If this is the knee, and I'm going to, you know, and you're laying down, and your IT band is out here, okay, if I twist like that or like that, that's going to cause stress to my IT band.
Yep.
So it's causing irritation. So then what do? I get on a foam roller and I start rolling the IT band out. And guess what happens? It gets looser and I go, oh, it feels better. But guess what you just did? You weaken the stability of your leg. So now it's actually going to come back tighter because those muscles are going to get tighter. And so the IT band's got more room now to go, okay, I got to do a better job because I'm not supposed to be loose. Why do they keep rolling me out? Worst thing you can do is roll the IT band out. And instead, we start to look at, are the feet, am I pronated on my foot, causing internal rotation of my lower leg, which is causing my knee to twist, which is causing my IT band to be tight. So
Now,
don't go.
is the twist a natural thing that happens when somebody goes from trail running to road running? Because I know that up at Marist, we have a lot of roads where we pound pavement. And that was one of the big injuries was the IT band got sore and you had to take a little bit. It was kind of an adjustment period where the body kind of adjusted to pounding more pavement. And I came, and Dave knows, especially my stomping grounds where I was in Jersey and Manchester, it's all trails, it's all
Yep.
sand, it's all much softer and more forgiving. So is there anything to going from that softer, forgiving terrain to pounding on pavement consistently that would flare something like that up?
No, great question. Look, I tell people all the time, the surface that you run on has nothing to do with the injury that you are suffering. Now, if you're the question you have to ask is, are you fit to run on the surface that you're running? Now, you started this off by saying, does rotation or twist have play a role because you're going from one surface to another? And the answer to that is it does, but that's because the twist happens no matter what. Joints don't go in right angles,
Right.
straight bend.
No.
There's a resistance of rotation. If the foot pronating and supinating, wobbling back and forth, then the ankle, that has to pass through the ankle. and the muscles between the ankle and the foot have to work harder.
Mhm.
If that twist continues up the chain, and sometimes it gets smaller, sometimes it gets bigger, then now I've got twist happening at the knee that my body's having to resist. Then it starts to happen at the hip. Then it happens in the spine, the lower back, and look, you can have jaw pain and neck issues because you're unstable in one foot. By the way, it's usually more one foot than the other foot. And so it's the imbalances that we have to start to address more than anything else. Twisting is a normal, natural part of motion. Your body is just supposed to resist and stabilize.
You know what's funny, Dave, is I'm sitting here watching Zig give us an education on
Yeah.
kinesiology. I would have just loved to have him as my trainer, just sitting there, and he could have like I could have been sitting there while I'm getting treatment, him explaining to me everything that happened. And for me, I was a history guy in college, so it's like for me, I like all the information. That to me, I find fun trying to learn. So it's awesome just how much of a wealth of knowledge you are,
Oh
and it
yeah.
just stems from probably the most important part, not to just us as track athletes, but athletes in general, right? Maybe outside of if you're swimming's full body, but anyone that you're just pounding on, running on a surface, whether it's
Sure.
lacrosse, track,
Grass,
basketball,
turf.
football, soccer, the feet are the start of it all.
Yeah.
So, i- in your eyes, what could be done to kind of educate the athlete? Because we always go for like the best shoe. That's what we start
Yeah.
off with. That
Sure.
we're going to bring it back. We go, the super shoes are massive. Everyone we've talked to that's used it, Dave's running them. Wrong way. Dave's running them. And he just said it's the recovery. You barely feel what's happening to you. You can go out and you can go do 1,000 repeats, go do 6,000s and progressively get faster and be ready to go into another hard workout tomorrow because you
Mhm.
just don't have that same buildup. From your end, looking at that, knowing the human body, why the hell is that happening? Is that something natural, and is that good for the human body that the shoes are able to make that much of a difference?
Yeah, well, if you look at those shoes, they are doing the job that the muscles of your body are supposed to do. Okay. And once that starts to happen, in the short term or the near term, you start to feel this tremendous effect. But there is, just like we were talking about a second ago, a long-term negative impact, and your body will respond as long as you're wearing those shoes. But here's the negative: take those shoes off and go do something different. That's when you're at risk for an injury,
Yeah.
Sure.
because you no longer have this protection of the super shoe, which is doing the work for you. So all of a sudden, those muscles have to do their job, and you go, "Oh, I don't know where that came from. I've been running forever. I've been doing this, and it just came out of nowhere." No, it was always coming. You were just hiding or masking it or bracing it so that it didn't come. So, look, when I talk about how impactful the feet can be, they contribute 10% at least of the amount of power that you're able to generate. Okay. And so if you
Yeah.
take
A lot.
that away and you replace it with a super shoe or some device, well, those muscles that could have been getting stronger, building more endurance, building more the ability to absorb force, all of a sudden they get significantly weaker, which we touched on earlier. And now, how much better could you be, by the way, if you were in a super shoe and had strong feet?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. How
So,
much better could you be?
in
Yeah.
your eyes, are we going to see kind of a second peak of performance with these super shoes? Because right now we're just seeing if you give elite athletes an edge, right? Like the middle distance runners are getting that small edge and they're already elite athletes. So it is a big jump, right?
Yeah.
Elite athletes get a small edge, it's a massive jump. Are we going to see another peak and like kind of just the talent? Because we saw that for a little while, like right, Americans kind of stayed put between the 330 335 mile range. Like we weren't getting much faster in that, where other countries were still able to
Sure.
produce the sub 330. Americans just weren't doing it, and now you aren't a top American miler unless you're running 328. Like it's gotten so much faster. And then even in the 800, and we just saw Josh Hoey break the 600-meter
We
world
did.
record indoor. And my thing is, we're seeing all of these fast times from the middle distance up, like over the last 10 years. It's been really big. Are we
Oh,
going
yeah.
to see a peak and plateau again as the super shoes settle and the elite athletes only get so elite? Will we kind of see just another plateau until the next technology bump?
That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to see another plateau until the next technology bump, or until someone does something different.
Yep.
You know, and it's not just the middle distance runners and the distance runners that you're seeing this plateau. You're seeing it in the 100 meters, the 200 meters, in the men's side and the women's side. I mean, think about it. It used to be if you ran 10 flat in 100 meters or sub 10, you were one of the top 10 in the world. Now you might be top 100.
We're having
You
Steve
know.
Williams on next week for the second time, one of the original men under 10 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. And now it's everybody. If you don't run 10 flat, you know, you're not any good. You got high schoolers running 10 flat.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it. You got so many more. I mean, think about how many high school milers now are right around that 4-minute mark on the boys' side. And look at the phenomenal performances on the girls' side, by the way, which we got to applaud.
The
On the girls'
5Ks
side,
are outrageous right now. My God, what they're doing in high school, they're insane. And then Jane, what Jane just did, Hendrickson, I can't pronounce Jane's last name, from BYU.
14.
Yeah. It's a shout out to the phenomenal transitions of coaches of female athletes who have said, hey, we're going to treat them the same way that we treat their male counterparts and allow them to get similar results, instead of saying, oh, you're a girl, I can't run you like that, or oh, you're this, I can't do that, you know, or you don't have the ability, or you need to lose weight, or no, they're letting those athletes be athletes, and they're seeing phenomenal results.
Absolutely.
But that plateau is going to happen, and then you're going to see a drop off. But here's what happens. You got those athletes that have those phenomenal performances, then you know what happens? They get injured. And we're like, what happened to them? You know, where'd they go? They got a nagging injury or something that slowed them down, so they had to find a way to run around or compensate. So I say these shoes, you know, yeah, they're fantastic, but they're more harmful than good. So if you're going to wear them, do something to strengthen your feet, to help make sure that that weakness that's happening in your feet in that shoe doesn't make its way or migrate up the rest of your body. Now, one thing, and I'll just, you know, one quick shameless plug here.
Yeah, go ahead.
On our website, you can get the only insoles that go inside your shoes that activate the muscles of your feet. And we've got some exciting news coming up in the next 2 weeks about an acquisition that we're making that will allow us to expand our offerings in shoe devices that activate the muscles of your feet. We call them Fit Feet. They're Fit Feet insoles. I got introduced to Barefoot Science insoles about 14 years ago. There you go.
You go on the worlditfl.com, and then you go over to technology, and you'll see Fit Feet Non-Orthotics right here. And there's a lovely man up there about to talk to you on a video.
There you go. We're going to talk about how important your feet are. And they're the only thing that activate the arches of your feet. They allow you to build muscles by literally, you're talking about numerous micro contractions of the muscles of the feet every time you take a step. And you see that little piece in the middle of them?
Sure.
Those are 3 different levels of stimulation that trigger a neuromuscular response. Or it's not really a proprioceptive response. The foot, that little dome sits in the middle of your foot, and the muscles of the foot has to work around that to find balance. It's like trying to balance on a ball.
Kind of like an exercise ball kind of concept. It looks like a little
You got it. You got it. Right underneath the middle of your foot. So
pretty cool.
If you're wearing a super shoe, put some of these in them, and your feet will at least continue to work inside of that shoe. So
now in terms of like the physical body, and obviously there are differences between male and female counterparts, and I think you said it right with like the training is getting much more similar.
Oh yeah.
But how much would you also equate to the fact that there are so many more females, especially at the higher levels, that, you know, in college, that are also coaching, not just women, but also coaching the men? How much would you account to that being
huge?
Big for the females, because they understand kind of the differences in body chemistry and the differences in changes that they're going through. And some of the things that, you know, yourself, Dave, me, we kind of can never understand what some young ladies are going through. So how much would you equate that having females in these higher places that can achieve, that can coach, is doing for the ladies in the sport?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm a girl dad.
Me too. We all are. All 3 of us are.
And one of the things that, and I prefer coaching girls and women, by the way, And the biggest reason I prefer it is one thing.
Zig, I do
Hey,
have to say one thing. This is one of the most off-putting pictures I've ever seen. This
That is a jack's foot.
That's a
Jack's
jack's foot. You know what it is? It's the areola area right there. Like, that's throwing me off. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll tell you. So I got to get my Adobe Photoshop guy to get on that a little bit better. So
it gets the
I love
foot
it.
when I'm looking at it. I'm like, whoa.
yeah, but I tell you this. Think about it. If your feet were that strong, though,
That'd be
Oh my
amazing.
God.
you could bench press something with your feet.
I'd be
You know?
Tarzan. I could literally be Tarzan, like being able to grab onto everything.
Yeah, I tell you. Well, think about look at primates, and they have very similar
Yes.
body types and structures to us, but they can swing and grab, hold on upside down. That's how our feet have evolved. As throughout time, regardless of which side of the earth you're on, as to how we evolved. That's what our feet are supposed to do. They are functional ligaments or structures that have the ability to do work and grab hold things. Pick up things with your feet, pick up things with your toes. And if you can't do that enough, get a pair of Fit Feet insoles and activate the muscles of your feet. But I got to go back to your question
Yes, sir.
Sure.
about women in coaching. And that is the biggest impact of women coaches is they have smaller egos when it comes to being coached and giving feedback to athletes. Whereas the male counterpart, as an athlete, says, "Do you know how fast I am? Do you know how fast I was?
Right.
Well, I did it. I just got to go a little harder." And a lot of times you get dads that are out there going, they just need to work harder. I didn't have all the tools I had. I just had to run up the hill both ways, in the wind, in the snow, both directions on the way to and from school. So you
Yep.
got to just push through it. But our women's coaches and women coaches are saying, hold on, let me listen to the athlete.
They're naturally a little more sympathetic to the athlete themselves and what they're going through.
Yeah. And so as a result, girls and women athletes are getting phenomenal results because they actually have coaches who will listen to them. I've got some kids that are off at college. My last year of coaching was last year. I won't be coaching anymore, little kids or anything like that. We'll do some work within the league, but those kids, they all ask me, what are some of the struggles I'm going to have when it comes to transitioning to college? What if my coach doesn't listen to me like you did? And I say, listen to them and talk to them and give them the opportunity to be a listener as well. Talk to them about what works. I was one of those athletes. Look, I'm almost 60 years old. So in the 70s and 80s, coaches yelled at us and screamed at us. That didn't work for me. That did not work for me. I walked off the football field because I took my helmet off my second day of practice. It was Arkansas. It was 90 degrees or 95 degrees and humid. And I took my helmet off and was standing over getting water. And the football coach says, "Hey, put your helmet on and go run some laps." I said, "Nope." And he said, "Then you're off the team." I said, "See ya." I said, "It's hot." And the next day I came back. The head coach said, "Hey, these are the rules." Well, the rules changed that day because it was hot. Nowadays, you got to pay attention if a kid says he's hot.
Sure. I think also even like the tough coaches understand even now, and you have tough coaches now, they exist, but there's a difference between motivationally ripping an athlete and doing it the right way as opposed to just being a jerk. And I think that you used to have your coaches that, they got a rise out of just being mean. It was just part of it. It was their shtick and everyone knew they were just mean. But if they got results, everyone looked by it, right? The mean coach that didn't get results was gone. The mean coach that got results stayed, right? And that's kind of, but I think even your tougher coaches that are always stern still understand the difference between, you can, with the high school athletes, men and women, you could be real with them. And your athletes you could rip into a little more. And your athletes that if you do the same thing, they might go cry in a corner, male or female. The different athletes that you're working with. And I think that's been one of the biggest changes.
A lot of times it's the females who are way more mentally tough and who you can. talk to more, and be honest with more. Sometimes it's the boys where you kind of have to massage their ego more because this or that, where the girls like, let's go, let's work, and
See, I
let's
feel like we
get
got
at
to
it.
be the opposite. We got to start being meaner to the boys again, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
The
Girls,
girls have
girls,
always just been. You be a little bit logical. You talk to them. You're a little stern with them if they're doing something wrong. The girls are fine. You don't yell at girls. They don't like that. We got to start yelling at our guys a little bit more again. A little more.
yeah. Yeah, no, girls, and like you said, some guys, and here's not just girls and guys. It's today's athletes
100%.
are a
Yeah.
lot more.
That's the better way to put it. Yes.
Yeah,
It's a different era. When I was in high school, 1990s, like, you expected your coach to kind of chew into you if you'd have bad. Now it's like we have to find a different, which it's not bad, but it's
I also
actually
think
more coaching the individual now, like not just coaching the actual team. Like not everybody can be coached the same way. I think we're a lot more aware of what works for each individual rather than let's just coach everybody the exact same way.
I also think with the internet, there's a little more haughtiness to the athlete too, because back in the day, we just kind of listened to our coaches because the coaches we understood, they knew the sport better than us. They had knowledge that we didn't have. And then you waited until your junior, senior year before you started to really input with them because now I have some knowledge as well, right? Where now everything's at their hands. They can go watch YouTube videos and training videos and this and that, and they know this and they know that. And I sleep this much and I eat this. And it's like, but I'm still your coach. Like, and I still know things you don't, you can read as many things as you want, but until you implement a training plan, you don't know what you're talking about. So it's like, and there needs to strike. And I think there's difference in those athletes where, again, you did yours for a safety thing. It's hot. Get away from me. But if it was an instructional thing, I'd imagine you as an athlete would have just sat there and listened. I don't know. You're coach. Where nowadays, even on the football field, it's like, but I know what I'm doing. I've seen this. It's like, you don't though. You're a kid. You don't know what you're doing. And I think that's part of the issue sometimes with the athlete now is they think they know already.
Yeah.
And it's like, you ain't grown. Even if you know that some of the X's and O's, the execution is very different than what you imagine.
You can watch all the videos you want. You can listen to somebody who says, "Hey, this is what I do with my coach, and this is what I've told my athletes." Just because I told you to do something doesn't mean that I want you to tell other people to do that. I gave that to you for a reason. That was your exercise. Those were your reps. With our team last year, in the last 2 years that I coached at Lake Mead Christian Academy in Las Vegas, every athlete got something different.
Yep.
And the other coaches were like, "How are we going to keep up with that?" I go, "We aren't. They are.
Yep.
It's their job. They're responsible. They've been raised differently than we were raised. They were raised to be responsible and ask questions. And I had some of the best kids. And some, I've got a kid, Ephraim, who's over at school in California, who was one of my best athletes, who also became an athlete coach for the other kids on the team.
That's
Abby
awesome.
was the same way, because the goal of me as a coach was to teach them, so that, because I knew someday they might become the next coach. Because if they become the next coach, what are they going to do? They're going to do what was done with and for them. And what I left them with is, everybody's an individual. You've got to treat them differently and give them what they need. Somebody might need more stretching. Somebody may need less stretching. Someone may need more sprinting as a distance runner. Someone may need less sprinting as a distance runner. So it depends on each one. And that's a part of, and I know one of the things we're going to talk about, briefly, is some of the myths and challenges of things that are wrong with the sport of track and field. Then one of the things that I think is really wrong with it is we treat everybody the same from the day they walk out on the track. And one of the things that does is that doesn't allow athletes to be the best they can be and get results. And as a result of that, they go away and they find soccer. Track is hard.
Yeah.
Track is one of the hardest sports. And it's always funny too, because like people look down on cross country a lot because cross country is just running. And I had one of my friends specifically, I'm not going to say his name, but good friend of mine, he played football and he was a good football player, but it wasn't his passion. He was a decent player, but it wasn't his passion. So junior year, he agreed. I ran sophomore year cross country, and every day in the summer I'd run cross country and I'd still go hang out, play tennis, basketball, and I'd run with them after my morning workout. And he was like, "Why are you so tired?" I'm like, "'Cause I just ran 6 miles this morning. What are you talking about?" So junior year, he comes out and he's like, all right, I can do this. I'm gonna go break 20 minutes in the 5K. And he was a big kid, 220 pounds, 230 pounds, linebacker, former linebacker. He trained his ass off. We would still go out. He would be dead when we were like going to play like tennis, pickleball, doing other things. And at the end of that, he goes, I've been in great shape my whole life. He's like, I've never been in better shape than in cross country.
Yeah.
He's like, there was nothing that came close. And he ended up breaking 20 that year. He ran like a 1940. He ended up getting his goal as he lost a lot of weight. But I mean, it's something, and track walks hand in hand with that because the work it takes you got to break yourself down a lot in running. You have to sit there, and when it hurts, you got to keep going, because if you stop, you don't get better. So it's like, it's one of those sports where you're just consistently breaking yourself down. And how many times can you do that to yourself and mentally stay in it? That's kind of the challenge all the time.
Well, look, what you just described is one of the reasons why we created this league. When we started the league, the World Indoor Track and Field League,
which I'm excited has a name now, because back when we had you on, it was just Z Athlete Village. We had the concept for the village, the resort, what we were going to do for the athletes. You had the general framework. You knew what you wanted it to be, but now we actually have a name, and I'm excited for it. So the World Indoor Track and Field League. So go ahead, keep going. Sorry, but I love that.
Yeah, no, and Z Athlete Group is the parent. So Z Athlete is still a big part of it. And by the way, most people think Z Athlete is about my name. It's not. It's because Z is the most powerful letter in the alphabet.
You need to embrace it. You just need to embrace it. No, it's me. It's my ego. Z is it. It is all about me. I got two in my name, so adding another. Like, that's it. Like, you just need to embrace it at this point. If people want to think that's it, you're the face of it, man. So embrace it. So I want to get over to the website. I like it. I like your logo. I'm a fan of this.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you very much. No, and I tell you what, green is a powerful color. Blue is a powerful color as well. So those were the things that we went with. But the World Indoor Track and Field Leagues and the games, let me just elaborate a little bit. You just talked about this athlete who ran cross country and said that's the best shape he's ever been in. Track and field is the sport that every sport turns to get in shape.
Yep.
And then we end up stealing their good ones. If they're that good, they stay. They don't leave. Like that, I think that's the fear of so many coaches.
It is.
You don't want to let your athlete go run track, because then there's a chance that they don't come back.
Yeah, and look, there's only so many spots that are going to go to the NFL, or soccer players come into to track or become phenomenal middle distance runners.
Yeah, oh my God, love them. Love them. You get them right away.
Players too. Basketball players too. Basketball players can come to track. I had a roommate in college, Steve Castro. Steve Castro was 6'5", 200-pound basketball player. We lived together in the off season in the summer. And after he graduated, I'm up at his house in Arvada, and I'm like, all right, it's my senior year. I got to go work out. He worked all day, delivering beers for Coors.
Nice.
And he got out of the band. And he said, all right, I'm going to go run with you. I'm like, dude, you've been working all day. He goes, how far are you going? I go, I'm just going to run 3 miles, out and back, a mile and a half out, mile and a half back. And I go, you sure you're going to be able to keep up? I'll just do what I can. Man, we took off, and I never saw him until he was coming back. And I'm just like, what is going on? He just had those big, long strides, and he could run forever. And so I'm like, man, you missed it. He was a 6'5" or 6'6", high jumper too, or maybe 6'10", I don't remember. But like I said, track is the sport that other sports turn to for punishment. What are you gonna do? Go run.
Yep,
okay?
100%.
You need to get in shape. Go run.
Yep.
You need to get faster. Go run track.
I'll ask a wrestler how much they like running when they need to cut weight.
So what we started out with this being let's make this a pro league. And then I tell you what happened. We watched pro leagues start, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we watched them start.
We know.
We can. Listen, Grand Slam came and went, baby. That's honestly, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, here is one of the challenges. It started with what it thought was the problem. The myth of the problem is they think we need to make track sexier. We need to make it more controversial. We need to try to put it on the same level as all these other professional sports. And Noah Lyles doing his thing, challenging NFL players. And dude, you're the fastest in the world. Of course you're going to beat them. I don't care what.
It's not even close.
The thing is, Tyreek Hill had nothing to lose in that, and that's why I think it never happened. Noah had everything to lose in that situation. Tyreek didn't.
Yeah.
No, so that's the wrong way for us to go about it. Trying to create exposure, compare ourselves to a sport that is worth billions of dollars.
Yep.
Some teams worth billions of
Sure.
dollars. And so to have this mindset of, look, Grand Slam was just another version of the European League, another way for the elite athletes to potentially showcase themselves. Look, it was a great idea for the elites. But the question I ask is, what does it do for the rest of the sport? If the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the sport is where we're faltering, because track is still left in the 1980s and 1970s with how we put on meets. You
Mm-hmm.
tell somebody you're going to a track meet and they go, oh, you're going to be there all day. I'm not going.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the first
And
thing
if you are there all day, what are they doing for you? Because that's the difference too. In Europe, yes, you could be there all day, but you're not there to watch the event the whole time. There's things going on. It's a festival. It's a great time. The venue
Exactly.
itself is a great time.
Yep. Yep. And as an athlete, I don't have to be there all day.
Exactly.
Right.
Here I got a time that I get to get there and I get my warm up in, I get out. If you look at all the others that are out there, and this is what we did, people are like, oh, you need more track and field in your program. You know, well, in reality, I don't need a lot of track and field people in our league. We need people that understand business and marketing and how other sports have been successful. And so that's what we've created with the World Indoor Track and Field League. Track as a test of fitness, very similar to what CrossFit did with Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting, very similar to what the UFC has done for MMA and wrestling. A lot of
Yes.
wrestlers came out and it's like, what do I do? Well, I go to the Olympics. That's my pinnacle. No. Now, Henry
UFC.
Cejudo, I go to the UFC. And I
Or I'll
make
go to
millions.
Bellator. I'll go to Pride. I'll make good money in all those.
Exactly. And so that's what the World Indoor Track and Field League and Track Fit is a part of the brand that is, you could call it, hey, we're following the footsteps of CrossFit, but Track Fit competitions are not, hey, we're going to a track meet. No, you're going to a fitness challenge. You're going to a fitness competition. This isn't about, our league isn't about one athlete coming in and saying, hey, I'm the fastest in the 60. I'm coming out there, I'm running. If you're the fastest and there's 100 other athletes behind you, that athlete's at place number 100 has a long way to go. So
Sure.
we try to, with our league, level the playing field. And now it's about being fit. You're not just going to come out and sprint. You're going to come out and sprint, hurdle, jump, throw. So you think of CrossFit, you think of high rocks, you think of anything other than one athlete coming out and run one race. You could probably better compare it to a decathlete than anything else. Okay. And a big driver for this is that Z athlete technology, our motion capture technology that allows us to measure and, most importantly, score the efficiency of the athlete. So a part of your score is your performance. A part of your score is how efficiently you did it. And that result. So there's a whole lot more to it than just coming out and running one race. So our studios, which that's one of the reasons why I'm over in Arizona now, is I looked at a couple different places here. We're looking at 2 studios that will launch here that are 75,000 square foot places. They won't have full indoor tracks, but if you look at on that homepage, there's a Track Fit studio rented there, and it is a place where track and field athletes can go to train and live and get prepared and compete all year round. Think about it. You can go play basketball anywhere. You
Yep.
can go play soccer. I'm almost 60 years old. I can go play pickup soccer. I can go get a soccer game anywhere I want. But where can I go run a race? I got to go run a 5K or a marathon or
Yeah.
something like that. I can't go hurdle. I can't go long jump. What would track and field be if there was an ecosystem in place
That's
that allowed me to keep going after college, after high school? Maybe it wasn't the Olympics, and I didn't have to, sleep in my car like the guy did from the. There was a few of them over the last couple Olympics that slept in their car,
Oh, yeah.
barely made enough money. They still made the games, but that was the story.
Yeah.
So there's so many more opportunities that we can create for this sport. So that's what we decided to do, to shift from the idea of launching or attempting to launch another failed league that was going to rely on sponsorship dollars and television revenue and so forth, and instead put an ecosystem in place that allows the sport to grow from the lower level up. So our professionals are competing in the WITFL games, which will kick off in Vegas next year. And excited to announce, by the way, we'll throw this out there, that we picked out a couple. We spent 3 years in Vegas looking for a location, and we had a location nailed down a couple times. Right now, we've got 2 locations. One of those just got approved by the Board of Regents, a 10-acre parcel that is owned by the university, and but the Board of Regents supervises it or oversees it. So they just approved us on Friday to put a 100,000 square foot building up on this 10-acre parcel, short-term lease while we continue to figure out the rest of what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Which we're very close to a joint venture with a strategic partner there,
Awesome.
who has another 28 acres, which is where the athlete village will go. But for us, that means we'll get to break ground sometime in 2026. The goal is to have our temporary building up by the end of 26 so that we can have an indoor season in Las Vegas in December, January of this coming year. So
awesome.
excited for that. And it's right off Tropicana, next door to the MGM Grand. It is a fabulous site and location, 5 minutes from the airport. So when we put on events that we can bring people in, they don't have to figure out where am I going. It is right there in the heart of it all.
So I guess the question I think some athletes will ask you is, I'm not really a multi guy or a multi girl.
Yeah.
How do I fit into your league if my specifics is distance, right? Would I really, what would it take for me to get into your league? Because obviously you're going to, outside the track fit side, if you get into the World Indoor Track Games, you need to be elite. You're going to have to be an elite. And that seems to lean a little more towards your multi-specialists in that sense. So if I am just a specialist in one of those things, what would your advice be to me? Because obviously I'm going to want to be a pro. I'm going to want to make some money. I'm going to want to be at my craft and make this my profession. So what would you say as the founder to someone who's kind of a specific person? They're training specific in college right now. I'm not really multi. I'm not good at throwing. I'm not great at jumping. Yeah. What would your advice be to me in terms of how do I get involved here?
Well, here's the thing. Most of your elites in college are just that. They're specialists. Yep. But it's specialization that's not allowed the sport to grow and blossom. Okay. If you think about wrestling and the wrestlers that transitioned to the UFC, they had to become more versatile.
Yep.
And that's what has allowed the popularity of wrestling to take off.
Yep.
Okay. So people are wrestling in high school because they know that's the foundation of them getting to the UFC. They're doing mixed martial arts more. All of these other sports have taken off. So for us, and I wrestled with it because I was a hurdler, but I was also a hurdler, jumper, sprinter, and I ran the 800, but that's probably because I was a 400-meter hurdler, and they said, hey, we need another 800 runner.
And you have the strength. If you're a 400-meter hurdler, you have the strength to run a decent 8.
Yeah. So that, and I had a freaking high school football coach who was also the cross country coach. So I played wide receiver on Friday night and ran a 5K in the morning, and he picked me up. But for me, it made me a true fan of all aspects of the sport and being able to diversify. So the answer to your question is, the World Indoor Track and Field League isn't about specialization. It's about diversification. Okay. If you think about the average high school athlete, they are never going to be an Olympic medalist.
Yeah.
But you know what they could be? A WITFL league champion. Okay. That's what they could be. And so that's the way we grow the sports. That's the ecosystem that we're putting in place. The specialists will still have their thing. They'll still be able to, hey, I'm training for the Olympics, so I just want to be a miler. That's not us. And what Grand Slam showed us is, don't try to create something that competes with what's already working. That's already working.
Yeah.
So the WITFL is just that. It's a league for everybody, not just the one who is the best in the 100 or the best in the mile or the best in the 2 mile. Now, here's the thing: when you say, hey, I'm not a specialist, you know what you are a specialist at? Your workouts. In your workouts, you're mixing it up. Okay. So if you think about expanding yourself, and I tell you this, every distance runner on my college teams were like, I want to run the 4x1.
Of course they do, because you want to sprint a little.
Every single one. I want to run some hurdles.
But there's not a single 100-meter runner that goes, I want to run a 5K until they're like later on. When they're done being a sprinter, then they go run the 5Ks and the halves. While
Marion
they're
Jones is
sprinting, there's
running
not a single
marathons
one of them
now.
look like, I think I want to go run a 10K and run for 40 minutes. Like none of them are doing that.
No, I'm not doing that. Like I said, look, there is nothing for me, because all there is at this point in my life is 5Ks, 10Ks, and half marathons and marathons.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a fun run out there, but those aren't competitive. I'm a competitor, so there is nothing for me. And that's what we want to do, is come up with something that is for everyone and that doesn't compete with the status quo. We're for everybody.
I like that too, because it kind of, I think the big appeal that especially like CrossFit and stuff got, it was like they took advantage of like the Spartan races and like the Tough Mudders, where it took the challenge of the human body and made it accessible to everyone besides the elite athlete. And I think what you're doing it in more of a controlled motion for the more traditional, like, okay, I don't want to go and get jacked to go and lift things and rip it. And it's like, okay, no, but I can go in, all right, I can go hurdle. I've always wanted to do that. Or let me go throw a shot put, because that looks fun. And as we discovered, since we've had some elite shot putters on here, we can call it a ball. I want to go throw the ball. Like, so, and you give them the opportunity to do that. I think that, and high jumping, like that would be, and I think it would also allow, because Dave and I, and on the show, we talk all the time about how do we get people to understand how difficult what these elite athletes do.
Right.
And I think what you're doing will create that difficulty and like, it's like we can go golf anywhere and we realize how good the freaking golf pros are, because my handicap's like plus 79. So it's like, then you realize where they're at when they're hitting par. Right. So I love what you're doing, because that person's going to go there and go, I can high jump 5 feet. And then they're going to go and they're going to hit the top of their head on the bar and go, this is a lot harder than I thought. And it'll give a respect to what the elite athletes can do.
I think that you're right. It'll definitely help create some sort of perspective that everyone has, because everyone thinks, oh, like what we do is hard. Like, it is not easy to do what we do. So, wow, this is such an interesting concept. I haven't really thought of it yet, but it's fascinating.
So I want to jump over here, because I have your rendering pulled up here of what a track fit studio will look like, and I want to get a look here. It's a minute 30. We could talk because I have no sound on, but so walk us through what we're looking at. Oh, it's on.
Sound is on.
Yeah, it's
on. Boom.
There you go.
Sound off. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
So talk us through what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so you're looking at roughly a 60,000 square foot box here that has a sprint straightaway, long jump and triple jump runways, seating for spectators, and the opportunity for us to run race from the 40-yard dash, to the 60-meter dash, pole vault. There's a pole vault area. There's a throwing area. There's a high jump area, and the throwing area, mind you, by the way, is not just for the shot put. It's for a medicine ball toss, a rotational toss, because we wanted to introduce some things that we as track and field athletes do for fitness that can become a part of the competition. So, for example, let's say you're at a track fit competition. It's not, all right, everybody line up and we're going to run the 40-yard dash, and I won the 40-yard dash. I'm great. Guess what? You got to come back and do it 4 more times. Or maybe you come back and do it 6 more times. So you've got 10 40s to run, and you've got a certain window of time to run it in. The pole vault, we're not looking for, somebody to jump 20 feet. We're looking for somebody to jump the best that they can jump after running, some 40-yard dashes. So it's not about coming in and doing, all right, I just peaked and PR'd at 18 feet. No, maybe you peaked and PR'd at 12 feet. Maybe you peaked and PR'd at 10 feet, and you're going to get a certain number of points. We're grading how effectively, efficiently you do it. What kind of shape are you in? You've got to follow the rules. There's so much more to this than, all right, I'm just, going to a meet, running one race, and I'm done. That's not how we keep people in the sport, especially if I had to sit out there all day. Come in, do your 30 to 45 minute or 1 hour competition, and then sit back and watch and go, okay, who's going to beat my performance for that 30-minute set of exercises.
So
like it.
a few questions for the inside baseball here. Number one, if I want to get involved as an official,
Mhm.
obviously that's going to be require very different training because now I'm going to have to learn a point system, how to like you're going to have some know-how of the sport in order to get involved. And we have a shortage of track and field officials around the country already. So where yours is kind of nice because it's in a climate controlled facility and
Mhm.
there's some perks to it. Outside of that, in order to sanction it as like a major sport, there's always these friggin' commissions, these competition commissions you have to work around. So, what have you found in trying to make this like the competition commissions you'll have to work with in order to do this? Plus, getting people to be officials. If I wanted to be an official here, how do I get in touch with you to maybe try and be an official at one of these track fit areas?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. First of all, the first question I'd have to ask you is, where am I sanctioning it?
I've no clue. That's my
Yeah,
question. I have no
yeah.
clue. You're one of one, so maybe you're the sanctioning body.
You're exactly right. We are
Okay.
the sanctioning
Yeah.
body. CrossFit governs its own records, its own performances, its own rules, and so forth. So
Yep.
we've got almost 100-page rules manual.
Cool.
And then the best part about this is, in terms of the scoring, is what you didn't see in that facility is our AI technology, which is now patent pending for utilizing a bunch of different sensors, non-wearables, which will allow us to measure and record and track the biomechanics of the person while they're performing. Now,
Wow.
from a hey, I want to be an elite track and field athlete standpoint, I'm going to a track fit studio to train because they're not just going to say my stopwatch or okay, coach, film me, and they use this cool app and they told me what they thought they saw. Ours is looking at everything from the amount of power and force that you generate with each step. Are you being effectively absorbing that force? Are you biomechanically in a good place where you can maximize your results? I say this all the time, and people look at me and go, I don't know. Wow, that's true. No athlete, not one, has ever reached their full potential.
Oh,
No,
sure.
Not
no.
not one.
Nope.
Okay. And the biggest thing that I've seen that's a factor in that is because they're all being coached based on the results that somebody else got. Michael Johnson's coached Michael Johnson. Let's go do what Michael Johnson did. Usain Bolt's coach did this.
Sure.
So and so did that. You got athletes that were being taught to drag their feet because coming out of the starting blocks because somebody did it accidentally in a photo shoot one time, and so now coaches are going, "Oh, he's the fastest in the world. You got to drag your feet." No, it was an accident. And now of course you got fast people dragging their feet and going, "See, it's working."
All
Well,
the
they
high
were
school
fast.
kids do it.
Yeah.
They all want to do it too. Yeah.
So for us, it's like, all right, what impact did that have on you? Well, it actually slowed you down and you
Mhm.
made up for it, but you didn't.
Right.
So if I'm an athlete and I'm a coach, I go to WITFL, I look up, we've got some coaching certifications. By the way, if you want to get involved as a coach, the first thing you got to do is get certified and understand how we're going to use this technology so that you can get the most out of your athletes. So our level 1 coaching certification is where you start, even if you just want to own a studio. Because the last thing we want is somebody to go, oh, you know what? I think I can make money at this. I should go buy one of these and get started. No, level 1 is the foundation. You've got to get a clue and understand how is the athlete going to get better. And our coaches clinics, by the way, are hands-on. I don't care if you're in shape, out of shape, you are doing drills and
I
exercises
love it.
that you're going to ask your athletes to do. So when they struggle, well,
Yep.
it's not as easy as me sitting here on my golf cart with my stopwatch saying go faster, go harder. You're just going to have to put more effort into it. No, you get level 1 certified. You reserve and pick a location. We've got locations all around the country. Uh, Primarily, we're focused right now on the Southwest because of the proximity to the venue that's going to be in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And then we're launching our own corporate location. But if you want a job, if you want to become a coach and work in one of our studios, you got to get level 1 certified first and foremost. And if you want to own a studio, there's a whole process for that as well. But it starts with being level 1 certified. And that's so that we know that you're in this for the right reason. And most importantly, that's the kids. That's the athletes, because that's still our number 1 customer, our number 1 target is getting kids to get into track and field all around the city not just in the urban centers, but all around the city, in the suburbs, to get kids to choose track and field as a sport, because we give them a place to go year round. That's, like you said, climate controlled, has good coaching,
Yep.
coaches who are going to pay attention to me and listen to me and give me the best opportunity to reach my potential. That's how we keep athletes in the sport. That's how, first of all, that's how we get them in early. That's how we keep them in. And then, hey, they get to high school and they go, you know what? Hey, I'm actually pretty good at this one event. So I'm going to go do this one event to go to high school and go to college. And then I might come back and get back into this track fit thing, because there's something for me other than trying to be one of three who make the Olympic team in an event.
So I have a question for you.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
So with all this technology and all this AI, how important do you still think the human aspect is to all of this?
Great question. It's still important. Okay, it's extremely human interaction is going to be important, because it's going to be a while before AI gets to the place where it really I call it, people have confirmation bias. AI has a confirmation bias too. Okay, and it starts to think, like, look, most of us over 40 only really know about Chat GPT, but there are plenty of other AIs technology tools out there. And what happens is they start to build things, so to speak, and give advice and give input and feedback, whether you're trying to learn from it, or you're trying to draw something, or trying to make an app. That bias is what you have given it.
And they hallucinate too. It's a known fact that the language models, the LLMs, they hallucinate and they lie all the time, because it's crazy. AI is already showing human characteristics of laziness, where instead of finding the right answer, it'll find the first answer that it thinks maybe will satisfy you. And if you don't check it, like, if you have to consistently check AI, and that's like the most negative thing about AI right now, is if there isn't a human still checking it consistently, it's gonna go haywire.
No, I mean, plus also, but if you're working with an actual coach, like, you want to be able to just have a conversation and just kind of go, like, I just hope that we don't get to the point, because where that human interaction is being replaced by just somebody telling you what you can and
I think Zig's doing it the right way, because he's using it as a tool. I think AI is a great tool,
100%.
but it shouldn't be like it's just like a stopwatch, right? Instead of counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, we have something that does it for us, right? It allows the coach to do something easier. Where what Zig's doing with the AI metrics, it now allows the coach to get another look at the athlete that maybe they didn't see with their naked eye.
Sure.
Yeah, dude. Look, first of all, me and my Chat GPT and Gemini and all my other apps, we go at it
all the time. It's wrong.
We go at it, and mine has heard some choice f-bombs, probably, because I'm like, wait a minute, it got lazy.
Always say please and thank you. So when the AI overlords take over, they pass you over. Always say please and thank you.
I do. I tell mine, it's my boy. Hey, we're gonna hang out, and but look, you hit the nail on the head. You've got to have checks and balances, and the human is the check and balances. And most people don't realize it, but here's where AI is about to become just the verification that people who are more biased. It's going to become the validation, the verification, and confirmation that people and their bias aren't just making up stuff too. But that person also has to be able to say to the AI, hey, you're slightly imbalanced, you're biased, that's not the right answer. So for us, we actually get to feed it what we want it to measure against. And then it's a comparison of, all right, how did this athlete stack up against our measurable? So we're not letting it determine, hey, this is what your knee should be doing. No, we've told it what the body, what the ideal mechanics and techniques should look like, based upon not just that person, but ideal physics, biomechanics, engineering. We've given it the answer, and then we have to constantly check against it. But it's there to support the coaches, not to replace the coaches. Because you've still got to have that human interaction. Yeah,
I love it. One of the things I love about what you're doing is you're bringing an aspect of indoor over to a place where typically they don't have it as much. They don't need it, over where there's a lot less weather like we deal with in the Northeast. You guys have your cold over there in Arizona and Nevada, but you're not getting, unless you're up by the mountains closer to that area, it's not as bad. You could do outdoor more often than not.
Yeah,
I think you
but
need
6
to get.
months out of the year we can't.
Yeah, there is a portion of it. Yep. Yep.
It's hot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
I think you
Too
gotta
hot.
get one. I think
I
you got to
was
get one of those to the Northeast though, because we are one of the meccas of indoor. And you put something like that in Boston, and I hate to say it because I hate Boston. I'm a New York, New Jersey guy, so Boston can kick rocks. But Boston has amazing indoor facilities. You add something
Yeah.
like a track fit to it, that's kind of a primed area to do exactly what you want to do.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're looking at is first the hot areas, and like I said, because we're here in the Southwest, we want to put some venues in places where we can.
I'm selfish. I
get
want one
out
in the
to it.
Northeast, Zig. I am selfish. I want one
Let's
here. It
let's
sounds
talk
cool.
about how to get one up there then.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Because that's one of the things that we're doing too is we've got enough capital to be able to fund some corporate owned centers
Very cool.
in special places around the country. And for me, the key is first and foremost to have the right partner,
Sure.
the right operator who is going to run that. So we can talk and figure out how we can get this done and get two up in your area. Look, Phoenix can handle 4. Is what we've determined here,
Wow.
strategically placed, because for a track fit studio to be successful, we're talking about 4 seasons throughout the year. That's the one thing. This becomes year-round track and field, and people go, "Oh, you can't do track year-round." Yeah, they said you couldn't do soccer year-round either. They said you couldn't play basketball, you couldn't play baseball. Okay, the reason why you can't play track year-round, and I say play track or run track year-round, is the football fields are taken. And that's where track is. Those are the only places where there are tracks, and it's either football or soccer. Very few places have have tracks that you can access. Then the indoor venues that you're talking about, guess what happens after track season? They're shut down, and the soccer field or the turf goes over the Boston, the New Balance Center. Concerts come in. These venues turn into multi-purpose venues, and so then track people go, well, shoot, where do I go now?
Yep.
I do have to say that's one thing that Ocean Breeze over here in Staten Island does different. We had Lauren Primerano on the show. She runs it. They are year round. They have an indoor team that goes in there of young kids through high school, and they keep it track. And she works her tail off. And it's similar to you, where that's her goal is track, 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 track. And I think your passion shows through, and I think that's why this is going to work, because you are passionate about making track a sport that people don't just think of once every 4 years, a sport that they are thinking of, you know what? Tommy's not feeling T-ball, but I know there's a track fit. Maybe we can get him involved in that track fit club. He's what's the age? Oh, they could start at 6. Cool. Let's go get Tommy in. He can run. He could do a 60. He could do a 40. He can do. They're going to teach him proper technique on how to high jump. They have some and I think that's the best way to do it, because I think it's so hard to make youth track teams because it's a giant 400-meter track and there's not that many indoor facilities. But yours is a beautiful introduction, because a kid can go run a 40. A kid can go and high jump onto a soft mat, long jump into a pit. Like, you can get them started into this stuff using your facility.
Yeah, and we can give them positive feedback and results and data. Which is really the thing for us, is collect as much data as we can to give the athlete the opportunity to be successful. So we'll also be partnering with some venues out there and licensing placing our technology. So we want to place our technology in Ocean Breeze. We're want to place it in Virginia and all these other indoor track venues, because we're more than just track and field. But track and field is the foundation of all sports. Every sport touches it. So and it's the one place where we can collect so much more repetitive data that we'll be able to give feedback to the shoe manufacturers, to the clothing manufacturers, 100%. To the track to every equipment manufacturer out there. We'll even be able to give feedback and an input to the the supplement companies and anybody that makes any kind of device that is for an athlete of any kind, because we'll have data that is on the one thing that everybody does: runs and walks. So,
You know,
so I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
also very happy that they got rid of the launch zone for the long jump because now you don't have to try and implement that in that. Oh my God, that was such a dumb idea to begin with. I'm
Oh,
so happy they're just keeping the
Yeah.
board. They're not doing the dumb launch zone.
that's
The
awful.
board is what makes long jump difficult. So I'm very happy that they are keeping the board.
Well, and keep this in mind too. When a track studio can also, because we've got the distance and we've got what do you call it? The long jump pits and the shot put throwing areas. We'll hold traditional track meets there as well. Some events with no oval, but imagine having a place to run more 60-meter dashes to get more long jump competitions in
Yeah, listen,
for areas and towns that don't have a full track.
you could just have field days, like where you just throw and jump.
Call it a
Yep.
field day. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
So
and
there's
listen,
a
those
whole
field kids need
more.
some love too. They never get love. The field
Yeah.
athletes never
Or,
get love.
or I know here, up in the East Coast, like just have a place where kids can go and actually pole vault in the wintertime.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a bunch, and that's funny because we're seeing a lot of those out
They
here,
are.
pole vault places pop
They are
up.
here too. But they're
yeah.
usually in like some like barn or something like and
Or
you know
backyards.
yeah, they just have pits, but like they don't have all this technology where
You're
you can
giving
actually,
them the biometric data. Yeah.
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 that's cool.
Now,
Yeah.
is that
So
something that if I'm a collegiate coach, a pro coach, a high school coach, can I rent out your facility for a time to bring certain athletes or a small group of athletes to come and train? Or is that something that's a little more down the road
no,
than?
no, our venues are membership based. Even our venue in Las Vegas, our 200-meter track will be
Yep.
membership based. So, so we expect the Nevada State, which now has a new track team. Nevada State University has a men's track team.
Nice.
UNLV has a women's team. So we're expecting them to come and utilize our facilities. CS College of Southern Nevada has a cross country program and I think a track program now as well. We're expecting that. We're expecting high school coaches to
High school meets,
need
yeah.
access. Yep. And we want to host some traditional in our full venues. Like I said, we'll host traditional, full track and field meets in our studios. A high school team who needs, or wants to run some 60-meter dashes and get some indoor marks in, come on down to a track fit studio during track season, during indoor season. And hey, it may not have an oval, but your sprinters, your hurdlers, your long jumpers, your high jumpers, your throwers, your pole vaulters,
yeah.
they can compete indoors in a track fit studio 12 weeks out of the year in the winter. And then because summer's track has been waning, people that are true track people go, oh, no, it's not. It is. It's waning.
Yes,
it's
it
hard
is.
to find an outdoor track meet here. So guess what? We're offering a high school indoor track season during the summer.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
that's real cool.
Continue on. Yeah.
So I'm excited too, because I can definitely see a place like a New Balance calling you up and going, hey, Zig, can I get a track fit attached to New Balance? Can we just attach a studio to us? Because we want to have those great facilities, the biometrics. And, we're still going to sprint on the inside of the 200, but that's a great warm-up zone for our sprinters, for our hurdlers. And I can definitely see your model becoming the premier what the field side, because a lot of the times the field just kind of gets shoved in a corner. If we can find a little straightaway over here, the track is the premier thing at all these places. But just your model presents that you can do your 200-meter track and then you can have a box next to it, and that's the track fit model. That's where all your field events can go. And it doesn't need to be crammed in there. It can be in a nice climate controlled area. They can have their spot, and that's awesome.
That would also open up space on the inside of the track for
100%,
or for parents and things like that. Because that's the issue here. Is I know even in the state meets for New Jersey, they have to bring portable shot put circles and throw in the high school gym rather than have it in the area. So like parents have to walk all the way there. Like they're just separated.
Just put VIP seating in the middle of the oval instead of let the athletes just put like an elevated VIP spot. You got to pay primo to be in the middle of that 200-meter track. See, I'm
like
giving
NASCAR.
you an idea. Giving you an idea for the village. Yeah, you could let someone bring one trailer into the middle like that. Let them sit on top of the
trailer. Just like NASCAR. I went to my first NASCAR event this summer, and I sent my daughter some videos, and she's like, "Hey, you're in the middle of the track." And I go, "You know what? They said we were on the inside of the track, but you're right. we're on the inside of the track. So
Did you learn the cardinal rule? You pick one car and you follow one car. If you watch them all, you'll get sick.
yeah, well, fortunately, we were there as guests of one of the teams. So yeah, I just tried to watch that car.
Yeah.
You have to get
Yeah.
the headphones with the radio on because it tells you what's
Oh,
going on. Okay, it'll tell you. Okay, now you got to look in turn 3. There's turn 3 because you had no idea what's going on. It's loud. You're focusing on one car, and then you have the radio on telling you what's going on.
no, and I tell you what, when I was in there, we got to go into the booth where the control center for that
Wow.
racing team,
That's so cool.
And I'm sitting there and I'm going, this is what we are doing for track and field.
Yeah.
They're tracking the car as it's running around the track. They're paying attention to everything that the car is doing. That's what our program is about in the WITFL and Track Fit. Being able to get the same kind of data on the person that we get on a car and we go, hey, that car is about to have a flat, or it's about to, it's out of alignment over here. Bring it, let's fix it. We're going to be able to do the same thing. Hey, you're running around. Hey, you just finished that race. We need to address your left ankle because you stopped using it properly while you were running. Could you imagine being able to do that between, hey, I ran the 800 this morning. I got to run the mile. I'm about to run the 800. And we made an adjustment to my body based upon the data I got from my race.
Right.
And this is just track and field. We can do this at Z Athlete for all sports.
Absolutely.
We're just starting with track and field.
So in layman's terms, it's just a human diagnostic test.
Yeah.
Right.
Diagnostic tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the unique thing
you would in a
is
car,
this,
it's like you take out the USB port in your car and you give it to your mechanic and he can tell you exactly what's going on. This is all.
See, what you got to do is you got to sponsor the first ever oval marathon where they make pit stops and the pit crews are just replacing their fit feet. Their fit feet in their shoes. They got to take off a shoe. They get a new fit feet on, off, and you can make pit stops. Take a quick drink, and boom, they go back out to run the marathon.
Hey, they might need a new shoe.
Every 5 miles, they come in. It's a 5-mile loop. Every 5 miles, okay, you're gonna pit. Or you're gonna run another 5. No, I'm coming. I'm going. Or they're coming. Like you can make a little crew call, and if they come in, it's just all right, pop your shoe. We got the new one with the fit feet. Boom, boom, boom. Go back out.
There you go. I love it.
You get the NASCAR aspect in there.
I'll tell you.
I think it's fantastic, man.
I really like what you're doing. I think that it's bringing a different. It's like you said, thinking about it in a non-traditional way, and I think there's a lot of track and field people and cross country, and they're very stuffy about the sport. They don't want the sport to change. But one of the things I've said is we are the most pampered athletes that don't get paid. So we need to do something in order to make this sport grow. And if what you're doing creates more interest and allows more pros to get paid and get at a higher level, and maybe even just raises the status of the traditional runner, because now people understand how hard what they do is. It's a success, and it'll start that groundswell. And what you're doing is awesome, Zig. Thank you. Thanks for coming on again and giving us the update. Talking to you is always fun, man.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. This has been fantastic. And I'll be back.
Absolutely. Anytime there's an update or you just want to come chat, if something's going on, hearing you talk about the science of the body, just in general,
I could talk about feet now for an hour. It's great.
Not as good as you, but I'm saying we could definitely be a feet education.
I never thought that I would care about feet or understand, but like you've made me realize maybe some things that I'm doing in practice with my own kids. Maybe I got to work on the feet more.
Yeah. Well, imagine them being able to run literally, let's call it 6%. More effectively and efficiently.
Sure. It's huge.
Yeah.
Where should Dave go? Because I don't coach, but where should Dave go if he wants to find some like foot workouts? He could do beginner workouts for his athletes to maybe incorporate some of this stuff in, to maybe give his kids some homework to go do at home where they're just hanging out, and while they're scrolling through TikTok, do a little foot workout, right? Like where could Dave go to try and find some of this information?
Literally, it's so simple. First of all, there's nowhere to go because anybody that right now that I have found that is teaching exercises for the feet are teaching exercises on your feet. So if you're looking for foot exercises, it is simple. I cannot tell you it's any more simple than having the athlete sit there, straighten out one leg, and curl their toes and watch what happens to their feet. Do they plantar flex? Do they dorsiflex? Do they invert or evert? what happens to them? Does their calf cramp? You know, can they curl their toes while they're in dorsiflexion? So these are it's that simple, Dave. It is
Right.
not
Just
complex.
curl your toes over and over,
Yeah,
and you'll get
and
stronger.
pay attention, because wherever they're dominant, that's what's going to happen with their foot.
Sure.
So it's going to tilt or shift one way or another. Or if they're tight in one spot, they're going to feel tightness, and then that's where you stretch. But Alex, you said something about rolling the feet. Worst thing you can do. Worst thing you can do is roll your feet. Stop. They say when you get plantar fasciitis, you're supposed to get a golf ball or something and put it underneath your foot and roll it out. Okay, well, plantar fasciitis is stretched out feet. It's irritated plantar fascia, and which typically happens because of a rapid contraction. So the plantar fascia got irritated, and then we go roll it out. It's the same as the IT band. So,
Makes sense.
Dave, the thing you can do is just
tell them to contract.
Yeah.
I like it.
Tell them.
I like
Dave,
it a lot.
right now. Dave, you do it right now. Straighten your leg out.
I am.
Okay. Point your foot. Curl your toes.
That's much harder.
Yeah.
Now, how long should they do it for? Like 30 seconds on and off, or
Reps.
a minute on and off?
You can do reps,
Like
and
20.
there are some exercises you can do on your feet that force the muscles of your feet to contract. I'll shoot you a link.
All right.
But these are things that we teach in our course too, for the coaches who are getting certified. It's not just we're going to teach you how to do the right pyramid or the right ladder or the right set of it. It's not that. It is, how do you address every single athlete's body?
I like it.
Okay, because everyone's different.
And I want to get that to Dave, because I know Dave, it could help his athletes, and any way that we can help Dave, we do on this show, because we want Dave to be successful.
Thank you.
As we want you, Zig, to be successful, and we think
absolutely.
you will. So once again, he is Zig Ziegler. He is the founder, CEO, commissioner, the everything man for the World Indoor Track and Field League, Z Athlete Village. You can go. Yeah, Track Fit, Fit Feet, all the above. You can go and you can find him on Instagram at the Sports Kinesiologist. That's very apt and fitting to his passion. And you can also, if you go on Z Athlete Village's Instagram, I see you put updates up there for World Indoor Track and Field Leagues. You can go on there and definitely check out some updates.
You can also go on World ITFL on Instagram as well.
Oh, you have an Instagram there too? See, I'm going off old news. So go on the World ITFL Instagram as well to get some more updates there. And you can find us everywhere at Talking in Ovals. We will be back next week. Zig, it's always a pleasure. We will have you on again. Yeah, hopefully before like a year or change again. We definitely have to do this again sooner than then. So, all right, everyone.
You betcha.
Thank you so much. We will talk to everyone later. So long, y'all.